I was faced with a choice which I never should have had.
She was crying like I had never heard a woman cry before in my life.
And I just cried for weeks and weeks. Everything reminded me of a baby.
And I kept trying to get up from the table and look to see what was in that jar.
I was dealing with the loss of my unborn child and I didn't even know it.
I believe that my life was spared that night just so that I could be here right now and say abortion hurts women.
Whisper, be silent no more.
Welcome to Faces of Abortion. I'm your host, Cindy Collins, and again, we're here today with Alan Parker, president of the Justice Foundation, our co-host. And Alan, very excited today about our interviews with Julie and Jeff Weber, as we're going to be using some new technology of Skype, taking us into the next level of Faces of Abortion, talking about marriage and the impact of abortion.
Yes, Julie's going to share her testimony about her abortion she had while she was in college. And instead of it being the answer, she ended up dropping out of college, having psychological problems. And a recent article in the British Journal of Psychiatry by Priscilla Coleman showed that approximately 10% of all of the women's psychological problems that were studied were the result of abortion. And I think that's underreported, actually, because so many people, like the guest on our show, just keep it locked up in the secret places of their heart.
They do, Alan. They keep it hidden in those secret places, as we're going to be watching Chris and Rick in their own words.
Hi, my name is Chris, and I'm here with my husband, Rick. We've been married 34 years ago, we were engaged to be married, and we learned that we were pregnant. And without hesitation, we made the decision to abort this child, our firstborn. Neither one of us gave it any second thought. We just felt at the time it was the right thing to do.
We certainly felt the guilt, we felt the shame. In the process, we were both raised in Christian families, and we're engaged, not married, and we have this child. It wasn't the right time. And so the decision, as Chris says, was pretty fast.
After we did that, we totally buried it deep within our souls. We started planning our wedding. We got married. We had 2 beautiful daughters. And looking back now and learning what I've learned about abortion, I just praise God that we were able to have children again. And there was a woman in our Bible study that worked at the local pregnancy center. And she shared all about her work. She shared about Rachel's Vineyard. And she gave some of the stats on women that have aborted their child. And it was during that time that she said 1 out of 3 women abort children. And she looked around the room and she said, based on that stat, I know there's women in this room that have to have aborted their child. And for me, it was immediate conviction. It was God staring at me face to face, coming face to face with me, and I knew in my heart this was it. This is why we had moved. This is why I was in this Bible study. And it was time. It was absolutely time. So we went on with our luncheon. I came home and I immediately called the gal that spoke. And I told her I wanted to go to Rachel's Vineyard. I asked her to come over. First I asked her to come over. She came over and I poured my heart out. I just wept and wept and wept. And at this point in time, Rick didn't know anything about this. He was out of town. And so I told her I definitely wanted to go to Rachel's Vineyard. And then he ended up coming home. And I had to break the news to him because I knew in my heart whether he wanted to go or not, I was going. It was time for me to be healed and to put this behind me.
When she told me that, I was ready, and there was no question in my mind that we were going to do that together. So it was just a very wonderful weekend for us. where people were very loving and understanding of what took place, and you know, we are blessed, and it just seems so ironic that, you know, who I am, I lived 32 years of condemning and beating myself and not accepting the forgiveness for this horrible act. There's no mistake about it, but it happened, and now you have to pick up the pieces, and Rachel's Vineyard has really been the catalyst for both of our lives in that regard.
If you're out there and you have gone through this, break down the walls of silence. Break them down. I cannot tell you what it has done for our marriage. And to finally realize that we're going to see our son again, that we do have a son. Rick had that vision. The Lord gave him that vision during Rachel's Vineyard. And there is grace and forgiveness, and you have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself. God has forgiven us, and you have to forgive yourself. And you have to share your story.
And I would say this to you, it's not just a female thing. The biological act is with the woman, but as a male, we're absolutely involved. We have complete equal share. And please, if you feel compelled, even if you don't, please listen to those nudges, and when the time's right, please take action, because it's invigorating and it's cleansing, and we could not be whole until the time that we've come to the Lord and have dealt with this, and that's what Rachel's Vineyard has brought for us.
And that's one of the hardest things to do, is to forgive yourself. But if we don't forgive ourselves, how can we think that Christ is going to forgive us? Just to be able to give honor and dignity to that child that you aborted is so freeing, and I highly, highly recommend you going and forgiving yourself and moving forward and using what Satan meant for evil, use it for the good. And that's where we're at right now, and we are just overjoyed to be out here doing what we're doing, trying to help other women. I'm volunteering at the pregnancy center, and it's just all good. It is all good, and I just praise God for where we are right now in our life.
Welcome back to Faces of Abortion. You've just watched Chris and Rick share their testimony of abortion impacting their lives for 20 years, carrying the pain of abortion separately in each one of their hearts, and then how they carried that pain into their marriage, not even being able to talk about it to each other, and it was the silent secret that they kept within their hearts, and it was manifested in their marriage in many ways. And I just sort of sense there may be a husband or a wife, a man or a woman that's watching today. We want you to know right away that you can call the National Helpline for Abortion Recovery, 1-866-482-LIFE, and they'll be able to give you some information about the Rachel's Vineyard retreat that Chris and Rick went on that brought so much healing into their marriage, and that was able to bring that secret out of their heart, Alan, and then bring restoration